hobby family? It is your boy K-Dub. This is K-Dub's High Five, five rapid fire questions with your favorite hobby faces. And today I bring in one of my favorite hobby accounts from Twitter, Cards with the Story, Mr. Dylan. How are you doing today, my friend?
What's going on, Kyle? How you doing today?
I'm
Thanks
doing.
for having me.
I think I'm a little bit more amped than you because I got a few more days left to school, and then it's summer. So forgive me if I seem a little bit over the top with excitement, but it's a
I
big
don't blame you.
week. It's a big week.
I don't blame you at all, man. I'd be excited too.
Well, how this works, man? I got five questions, all hobby related. I'm gonna throw them at you one right after another. Ready to take on the high five?
Let's do it.
All right, man. Cards with a Story on Twitter. Also, Cards with a Story on Instagram. Kind of walk me through kind of who you feel like you are in the social media hobby world.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm more of a vintage baseball focused. It's really the only thing I collect outside of I do collect some like Phillies memorabilia. I'm a Phillies fan, so but I really keep it mostly 19 I'd say like early 1900s, 1908 to about 1950, 1960. Mostly Hall of Famers if I'm not collecting Philly autographs and stuff like that. I try to do, I focus mainly on the dead ball era guys, Ty Cobb, stuff like that. That's my favorite, but I kind of like to bounce all around. I don't have I don't really zone in on too much on one thing. I can't concentrate with my collection. I'm a little all over the place. So whatever catches my eye that week or that month or whatever, the rare, the better. I like the rare stuff like that. So anything that's vintage baseball, I'll probably have interest in it.
Yeah. Well, let's walk me through a little bit this Cards with a Story idea that you have on your Twitter and on Instagram. Like, where does that come from? How did you come up with that?
So I was trying to look for something more unique. I just really was looking for something, a name that I thought was cool. When I made my Twitter account, I didn't really expect to get that many followers or anything. I just thought maybe I'd meet a couple people,
Yeah.
100, 200 people, something like that. But the real premise around it was just, being a vintage guy. People say, all the old cards have a story, stuff like that. So I always thought that was cool. It's always fun to think about, 100-year-old card, how many hands it's been through,
Yeah.
what it's been through, stuff like that. So that's really where I came up with it. I was just looking for something a little more unique per se, for my name, and that kind of just came to me one day. So worked out pretty well.
Absolutely. Well, I would say it's working very well for you, my friend. And I think you're right, man. Every story, every card has its story, and it's a story that people love telling. So, well,
Yep.
walk me through a little bit of your collecting journey. Like when you think about, you say you're vintage. I feel like you're younger than I am. So, collecting vintage, kind of, who would you credit as some of those influences in your collecting sports card journey?
Um, so I'm not sure if I have any real person I could pinpoint it to. I was born in 1995, so I'm 28. I've been collecting since about 2001. I think that's when I first remember opening up packs. So my dad used to, my dad didn't hand me down much. He handed me down some 1970s, 1980s cards, but when I was like 8, 9 years old, they felt like they were 100 years old. So I always thought that was cool. And I always grew up fascinated with more like the history of baseball, stuff like that. So as I got more into cards, the older I got, once I started working full time and, I had more money to spend on the hobby and stuff. The older cards just, they spoke to me, especially the early Bowmans, the artwork, stuff like that. That's what really drew me in. I just think, there's a uniqueness to it that modern cards, I don't think they have that.
Yeah.
I don't hate modern cards. I don't have anything against it, but it's not for me. And I don't know,
Mm.
the vintage just spoke to me when I was pretty much at a young age. So kind of attached to that and never stopped.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think there's a big difference between modern and vintage cards as
For
far
sure.
as collectors' appreciation of them. So you mentioned kind of the art a little bit, but I mean, shoot, you got 9 years younger than me, my friend. So like what drew you to the vintage outside of the art and the history? Like, is there any specific thing that made you turn to that other than the modern cards getting into the hobby in 2001?
Not honestly, not really. As
Okay.
crazy as it sounds, man. I mean, I grew up watching Ken Burns baseball,
Yeah.
like religiously. So especially the earlier episodes talking about the early game.
Yeah.
I would spend
Okay.
a lot of my childhood and stuff, looking up older players.
Okay.
and then that kind of just blended in with my hobby one day of just I've been collecting, like I said, I was huge on cards my whole life. So
Mm,
it kind of just naturally bled together.
yeah,
The more I started learning, I kind of got hooked on it. So I kind of went into it blind, just try to teach myself as much as I could about the vintage side of things. And
yeah,
the more I did it, the more I fell in love with it. And then it just became deeper rabbit hole where I was learning about, sets that I didn't even think I could ever find out about. Rare sets from the 20s,
for sure.
early 1900s, stuff like that. So the more I find, the more interested I get. I'm always trying to, I'm still doing research on stuff that I don't really know much about
Yeah.
that I would like to learn more. I always think that stuff's great. So
Yeah, and it sounds like you did majority of that on your own. There wasn't like another buddy you had that was a vintage collector, older guy.
not at all. I don't even have any real life friends that collect anymore, man. I have like maybe one friend that collects, but
Yeah,
all my friends that collect are online now. So
awesome, man.
all the people I've met on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah, well, it's a pretty special community, and I think that's the thing I love. And I say this a lot on the high five is just the social media hobby connects the world of sports card collectors. And
Yep.
for me, I'm in the same boat, man. There's not a lot of collectors other than like 8 year olds that I talk to about cards, but this community, online community, connects me with collectors all over the world from Washington State to Pennsylvania. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yep.
very cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I've had the privilege of over the last 2, 3 years of meeting. I probably met around 10 to 15 people from online that I've talked to pretty much daily. So that's
Love
been a
it.
blessing. Just being able to travel around, go to shows. When I was traveling for work or whatever,
Yeah,
it was always nice to be able to make a pit stop, see a buddy for over a meal, talk about cards, and then
absolutely.
it's always a privilege. So
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let's get to the cards, my friend. I'm excited for this one because vintage is a little bit outside of my element. So, if you got to have a Grail card out there, a card you've always wanted in your collection, maybe you got it, maybe you don't. What is the card and why?
so nothing too crazy. But honestly, I've always wanted the 51 Bowman Willie Mays rookie card.
Okay,
That's been like my dream card for
yeah,
pretty much since I really got into vintage. He's always been my favorite, historic player. I love reading about Willie Mays. I've read books on him, YouTube videos, anything I can,
yeah,
to learn more about him, watch him play. Since I didn't have the privilege of watching him, there's not that much video around. So,
for sure.
whenever I get to learn about him more, or, I see a book come out or something, it's always fun to grab. But I've always loved Willie Mays, and I think the card's great, and I don't know. I think he's probably the best player of all time, in my opinion.
Never.
Non-pitcher, but everyone has their own opinion. But that's always been mine. But
what is
yeah,
it?
I don't know. That's just a card I've always wanted.
What is it about the card though? Why is that the one?
Honestly, I think it's just Willie Mays being that first, legendary player. I kind of fell in love with, learning about his career and
Yeah,
hearing stories just from older guys. And my
mm,
dad used to tell me my dad was caught the back end of his career, but
yeah,
just hearing stories like that. The card itself, I don't think it's the best card personally. It's nice. I like the card, but it could be better. But just being Willie Mays' rookie card,
for sure.
um, is that's amazing. The signed, I would love a signed copy. I guess that would be the real grail, but
Yeah.
they're going for about 60 to 70,000. So
Well, why not, man? Let's shoot for the moon. Let's shoot for the moon. I love it, man, and it just connects once again to your personality, man, of the cards with the story.
yeah,
The
exactly.
story behind that, not necessarily the card itself, but the story of the player, the appreciation of the players. So, I love that, man. I love that. So,
Right.
well, hey, man, let's get into it. Got all the money in the world. You can rip any hobby box in past or present. What hobby box are you gonna rip and why?
Um, Now does it have to be a hobby box, or could it be like can I go with an unopened vintage box per
There's no
se?
rule. There's no rules, man. You whatever you
All
want.
right.
Box, a
I would
box, a
I
box of
would probably say a box of 1951 Bowman just for the Mantle, the Willie Mays and the Mickey Mantle rookie.
yeah, yeah.
That would be the chase of that would be probably more fun than opening anything else, in my opinion.
And what about that? I've heard that a couple times. What about that box or that product kind of makes it the vintage box to open?
I just think with it being, Mickey Mays' true rookie, or I'm sorry, Willie Mays is a true rookie and Mickey Mantle's true rookie.
Mickey Mays,
Being
man,
from
let's
his
go.
being being from the same set, I just think that's awesome.
Yeah,
Probably the two best players of the generation. I mean, them two and Hank Aaron.
yeah.
I think, and I love Mickey Mantle's 1951 Bowman. I think it's his best card. So,
Really?
um,
Over the 950
yeah,
too?
I think. Oh, I think it's way nicer. I love the batting stance with the sky in the background. I
Mm,
think it's a great card. So,
gotcha. Fair enough,
I
fair
mean,
enough.
I like the 52. It's got
Yeah,
the historic. It's one of the white whales, but I
for
don't
sure.
think it's the best looking card in the world
Yeah,
per se. But
that's fair, that's fair, that's fair.
But yeah, I would love just to open even just a pack of 51. Just one single pack would be like a dream.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, man. One more question for you here. I love your account, man. Cards with a story. I love that idea. Um, talk to me a little bit about what is it that you think about sports cards that creates these stories? You don't see that in other hobbies. It's not like a guy gets a driver in the golf and he's like, man, this driver, I tell you, it's like if this driver could talk,
Yeah.
what is it about sports cards that you think gives them that emotional stories, those emotional connections that so many people gravitate towards?
So I think it's a mixture of um, there's always for me with vintage, it helps me connect with players that I've never got to actually personally watch.
Mm,
But it makes you feel a little more connected with that period of baseball where I couldn't watch them play or I couldn't open the pack of cards, but it kind of makes that connection.
for sure.
But on the reverse side, there's always I collect this guy because when I was 10 years old, he was my favorite player. Or
Mm,
when I was 10 years old, he threw me a ball at the game. He signed a baseball for me, stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff you kind of, you can't, money can't buy that kind of connection with stuff. So
sure.
sometimes, I talk to hundreds of collectors and it kind of always seems like everyone has the same pretty much feelings towards it, where it's like they can't explain that connection fully, but it's like the cards have always been there
Yeah,
since as far back as I can remember. I've always
for
the
sure.
one thing I always can look back on is baseball and baseball cards. So I
Yeah.
mean that was for me is awesome. I can't wait to share with my son. Hopefully, get him into it. I'm hoping I can get him into it.
Right.
He's still young, so it's a little while away, but I'm working on that. So, but
It,
even stuff like I'm sorry to cut you off there,
oh, no, you're good. Go ahead.
um, but going in with the kids, like some people share that hobby with their kid. It's hard to connect with, if you're 20, 30 years older than your kid. There's not too many things you're going to have in common.
Hmm,
But cards are like one thing I feel like where, father and a son or father daughter, mother daughter could always find that common ground on, hey, you know, I love baseball. I like to collect, I like to rip packs or whatever. So I think that stuff's awesome.
that's it, man. And I think that's the beauty of sports as we go just outside of cards. Like my sons are all playing baseball right now. My
Yeah.
6 year old plays t-ball. The same skills he's working on are the same skills that professional athletes have worked on for 100 years playing baseball. And
Yep.
I think that's the beauty of sports, and sports cards and sports kind of go hand in hand. But when you think about it, like the connections that I can make with a 6 year old as a 39-year-old, we can connect over this game because we're all playing it the same. Like
Yep.
the rules of baseball don't change from, you know, T-ball to Major League Baseball. Yes, they do in a sense, but
Right.
the premise of it is the same: hit the ball, run around the bases, catch the ball, get it out. I mean,
Yep.
it's a pretty special thing when you think about it. And I think, like you said, the beauty of it is it's generational. Like from young to old, like these sports and sports cards, which go hand in hand, they give us that same connection, that same feeling. Whether it
Yep.
be, as a young kid watching King Griffey Jr., or like you said, Willie Mays, who you never got to watch play, but his story is told so we can look back, see that story, make that connection. And then we have these cards to kind of connect us to them, or I don't know, make us appreciate or like them more. So it's a
Yeah,
beautiful,
exactly. It's
yeah,
awesome. I mean, there's not too many things nowadays I feel like that can connect,
yeah,
an 8-year-old with a 40-year-old.
for sure,
Everything's different, but cards have always kind of been that constant where
sure,
sports, baseball's always been, huge. Cards
yeah,
have always been around. Kids have always like,
mm,
even if you're not a huge baseball fan, I mean, I know kids that I grew up with kids that weren't huge on baseball, but they love
yeah,
ripping packs and collecting cards. So it's just that common ground where if you can't find much else, there's always, you know, you can always find some sort of common ground through collecting, whether
sure,
it's cards or anything really. So
for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, one bonus, cards with a story, man. What's your favorite card story from
Oh
your
man.
collection?
So nothing. I'll call it. So about 2 years ago, before I got married, I got a DM from one of my buddies, Ben Brown, on Twitter, who said, "You should be expecting a package in the mail today."
Yeah.
Um, so that was pretty cool. I was like, "Okay, what's this going to be?" About a couple hours later, I get my mailman comes by, I get a knock on the door, get a big old box, open it up, I get like a cigar box in there. Open up the cigar box and I see one of those eBay, the authentication
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh God, what's this going to be? I wasn't really prepared for it, but it was
Yeah.
so about I think 75 people from Twitter, friends and stuff, put together some funds and they got me a Ty Cobb T206, which was like
No.
my dream card. So that's like the coolest thing. I tell that to everyone still.
Yeah.
People are like, damn, people online you don't even know got you that, and I'm like, yeah, man, it's pretty amazing.
For
I'm
sure.
forever grateful for that. So
I love it.
that's my favorite story to tell anyone.
Yeah. And you're
At least about myself, at least for collecting.
and it's the beauty of it, man, is it's your favorite card, yes. But it's
Yep.
what you said. People that don't know you personally, but know who you are, came together and said, we want to do something special for this guy. So that card now sits. It reminds you, yes, Ty Cobb, I love this card. But it also reminds you, hey, there's really good people in this world who I may
Yep.
never meet in real life. That's pretty awesome. I love that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I keep it in the middle of my display, so it's my
Yeah.
favorite to look at. Every time I look by, it's always a nice reminder. So
And
it's awesome.
it'll be a great story to tell your kid too.
Yes, it will. I can't wait.
For sure. For sure. Oh, all right, man. Well, we're gonna end on that note. We got a high five. Throw it up at the end of the
Awesome.
high five. Boom.
Appreciate you,
Hey,
Kyle.
you can follow Dylan on Twitter, Cards with a Story. Also on Instagram, it's Cards with a Story _ at the very end there on Instagram, and it's Card Story on Twitter. Got those right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
Sweet. So make sure to check those out. I will also link all of them in the description of this video. Also, please make sure to subscribe to the channel Dizzy Dub One. Follow me on Twitter or X at Mr. K-Dub. Shout out to our High Five endorsers, Midwest Box Breaks, and LJ's Card Shop. Dylan, man, I love what you do. I love the community that you create on Twitter and Instagram. I'm not on Instagram, but I'm assuming it's the same. But
Yes.
keep it up, man. These cards they're a pretty special thing, and they do different things for everybody. But they all give us a story to tell. So appreciate all you do,
Yes, sir.
man.
Right back at you, brother. Appreciate you having me on today.
Absolutely. All right. Y'all take care. Be the good in the world. We'll catch you guys next time on the next High Five.